Step number 2. Formal serious transactions. 3 parts. Reminders. What is a reminder? Instead of being reprimanded for what he or she had done or warned about what would happen the next time he or she transgressed, the individual is now reminded of 2 things. Number 1, the company's expectations. The regional manager again reviews the performance expectations or job standard that the individual was failing to meet. If the issue is one of attendance, they go over his or her attendance record and the company's expectation that every team member show up every day they are scheduled. If the issue deals with a conduct of behavior issue, the regional manager explains exactly why it's important that the rule he or she has violated must be followed. If his or her performance is the issue, the regional manager describes exactly what's expected in quality and quantity of work. Number 2, the team member's personal responsibility. Besides reminding the team member of exactly what performance is expected, the regional manager also reminds the individual of something equally important, that it is he or she who is responsible for meeting the company's standards. He or she is told in a friendly and supportive but also serious and businesslike way that the company has delivered on its share of the bargain by giving him or her a good job at excellent pay, together with the tools, training, and support required to do it well. Now he or she has to live up to his or her responsibility by actually doing what's expected and doing it well. The purpose of the regional manager's discussion is not to deliver a reprimand or warning. Instead, it's to make sure that the team member fully understands what's expected and that it's his or her responsibility to deliver. Number 1. Reminder 1. Formal discipline delivered by mid-level management, regional manager or department manager or above after discussing with the HR department. Documentation is retained in the team member's employment file on active status for 1 year. If the situation doesn't correct itself, management moves to reminder number 2. 2. Reminder number 2. Formal discipline delivered by mid-level management, regional manager or department manager, or above after discussing with the HR department. Documentation is retained in the team member's employment file on active status for 1 year. If the situation doesn't correct itself, management moves to the decision-making leave only after consulting with the HR director. 3. Decision-making leave. Formal discipline of 1 day off with pay delivered by mid-level management, regional manager or department manager, or above after discussing it with senior management and the HR director. A witness of supervisory level needs to be present. Documentation is retained in the team member's employment file on active status for 1 year. If the team member does not follow through with their agreement to get on board, the next step is termination. Why a decision-making leave? It allows us to demonstrate good faith. It transforms anger into guilt. It eliminates the need to save face. It makes it easier for the regional manager. It reduces hostility and the risk of workplace violence. It increases defensibility if the team member is later terminated. It removes money as an issue. It's consistent with our service standards. Since the above disciplinary transactions impact overall performance review ratings and the ability for adjustments in compensation, no salary increases will be approved for team members on active discipline. If a team member is on active discipline, the highest performance rating achievable is satisfactory. All documents remain in file permanently. Step 3. Termination. Termination is not part of the disciplinary process. At the point of termination, the employee has chosen not to be on board with the company's policies and procedures. There's no discipline needed. It's a parting of company where all parties are treated with dignity and respect. There will be some infractions that will remain terminable offenses: theft, harassment, etc. At this point, the severity of the infraction requires involvement of the regional manager, general manager, and human resources. In applicable situations, a safety and security investigator may be involved. At any point in the process, the team member may use the communication process in the team member manual or contact the company ombudsperson to ask for advice or discuss concerns they have. When can steps be skipped? When a team member commits a serious disciplinary infraction, can early steps be skipped and a reminder to or decision-making leave step be taken directly? What are the situations that justify termination for a first offense? Level 1 problems, minor. Do not involve honesty or trust and do not constitute a threat to the operation of the business. They pose no threat to the safety of team members. Example, excessive tardiness, basic performance issues, and service standard issues. Level 2 problems, serious. Have some degree of threat to the operation of the business or to the safety of the team members. Examples, showing up for work unfit for duty, being absent without notification, advanced performance issues, and service standard issues. Level 3 problems, major. Seriously threaten the operation of the business or the safety of team members, or demonstrate in and of themselves that the offender has so little personal integrity and self-esteem that his continued presence cannot be tolerated. Examples, deliberate falsification of records, theft and fraud, assaulting a supervisor, team member, or guest, etc. Discharge is appropriate at this level. You will rarely terminate at the time of incident. The guideline should be to suspend pending investigation. This is considered a crisis suspension and is done without pay. Upon employee's return, terminate. Dealing with discussion difficulties. The "yeah, but" game. When you hear "yeah, but," recognize you're being sucked into a communication game that you will not win. Agree with the objection and turn the responsibility back where it belongs with the team member. Example, Manager, you're right, Sally. I agree that is a real problem. It would be difficult for me too. How are you planning to handle the situation moving forward so you can meet your responsibility of being here every day? When Sally says, "Gee, I don't know," the appropriate response could be, "Well, Sally, you need to think about that carefully because I need someone in this position who can be here every day, and I sure hope that person is you." The silence game. This happens when the team member chooses not to respond to the manager's attempts to discuss the problem. This silent reaction could stem from apprehension or anxiety. Sometimes it's used in an attempt to intimidate you. There's no reason for a manager to be intimidated. If silence continues, tell the team member you have no choice but to discontinue the meeting and make a decision on discipline based on the evidence on hand. Consult with human resources for further assistance if necessary. The "I'll try" game. Trying doesn't count. Only doing what you're paid to do counts. Follow up the statement with, "I'm glad to hear you'll try, but what will you actually do to make sure you'll be successful?" The irrelevancy game. Dismiss the irrelevant topic raised by the team member and redirect the conversation to your subject. Closing the discussion. If the conversation is a performance improvement discussion, simply thank the team member for agreeing to correct the situation and express your confidence that the two of you will not need to talk about the matter again. If the conversation is a formal disciplinary matter, 2 additional steps must be taken. Inform the team member that the conversation is a formal disciplinary transaction. Inform the team member which step in the discipline without punishment program is being taken. Solving attendance and attitude problems. Attendance. Remember, the cause of any absence is irrelevant. Only the fact they are not here counts. What do you know for sure? When the business opened, the team member wasn't there and his or her job didn't get done. Attendance policy. This company expects staff to show up on time every day as scheduled, fully prepared, in appropriate attire, clean, straight, and sober for the entire duration of the workday. Any variation from that is a failure to meet expectations and is a violation of policy. The sick leave misunderstanding. Sick leave has nothing to do with attendance. Sick leave exists to cover wages for days you are unable to come in due to long-term ailments. Never call it excessive absenteeism, because using that term suggests some amount of absenteeism is okay. Be aware of FMLA and the ADA and the impact on illnesses. Actions to prevent liability with FMLA and ADA. Contact the HR department to discuss specific medical problems with team members. Do not encourage team members to discuss their issues openly with other store employees. Gather as much information as possible and consult the HR team for a plan going forward. Attitude problems. When you need to confront someone who is in need of an attitude adjustment, never use the word attitude. It's unproductive. Narrow the problem down to specifics. What exactly is the team member doing? Is he or she egotistical or taking credit when it's not due? Does he or she spend too much time socializing? Does he or she engage in pouting or sulking when he or she doesn't get his or her way? Is he or she rude, surly, or inconsiderate? Write down the actual verbal and physical behaviors and actions that concern you, the evidence that the team member is behaving in an unacceptable way. Be sure to record nonverbal cues too, such as rolling eyes, arms crossed tightly across chest, etc. Write down the impact of the specific inappropriate behavior, in effect, unharmonious atmosphere in the workplace, lack of teamwork, etc. What are the good business reasons the company expects team members to conduct themselves in the service excellence philosophy? How is the team member acting right now that may produce an adverse climate for other team members and guests? What effect does his or her negative behavior have on coworkers and guests? Find a private place to talk. Discuss the situation with the team member and explain that his or her behavior, not his attitude, is causing a problem. Start off with the familiar, "We have a problem and I need your help." Talk about all of your concerns and why they concern you. Don't expect to get any useful responses, and wrap up the discussion by saying, "That's great, Jack or Jill. I'm glad you feel there's nothing to it. Let's get back together in a week or so to ensure that the problem is solved." A week later, if there hasn't been a turnaround, talk again. Keeping notes summarizing your interactions will help in the disciplinary process. If a third conversation is necessary, raise the stakes. Have the discussion again and explain bluntly that the team member only has the choice to correct the behavior if he wants to keep his job. The performance review can be a powerful tool in bringing about a change, particularly if it's not time for a review. You can deliver it early and indicate what the team member's review would look like at the current time. Inform the team member that if there is not a dramatic and sustained change in his or her interactions with coworkers and/or guests immediately, we may decide to move in a different direction going forward. If all else fails, then proceed forward to formal discipline.